Those give me goosebumps, and I give them goose humps.
Vampires.
Little trouble in dreamland.
Okay, who's next?
Welcome back. It's a terrific Tuesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. You know, every day, every week, we try to bring in people who educate you, make you a little aware of what's happening in today's society. Social media is out of control. But one thing that we keep forgetting about when you go on Facebook and Twitter and you think they're all free, they're not, because they are taking your data and they are mining the crap out of it, and then they're reselling it, and that's how you're getting charged. One man and his company takes on that new mission of empowering you to take your data into your own hands and figure out what it's worth and sell it and protect your privacy. That's my good friend Nate Bradley, and Nate is the CEO of Data Vault. And Nate, every week it seems like there's some crazy story out there about data. This week we got this breach with Disney. What's happening?
Hey, well, John, thanks for having me back. Yeah, you know, this is another indication of how personal data is being utilized. Here we have thousands of accounts that have been hacked. Disney Plus launched last week, and into that launch, they are denying a direct hack into their network, but they have been breached in terms of thousands of user accounts have been accessed now. This could come back to their authentication process or some process that they have with respect to these personal profiles, where these accounts are now being sold for $3 and up on the dark web.
So, Nate, is there anything people individually can do to try to protect themselves from being the victim of these types of breaches?
There is, you know, in terms of this, when you look at, you know, signing up for these accounts, having, you know, distinct password control, you know, going above and beyond, you know, what the bare minimum requirements are when setting up these accounts. This apparently was hackers being able to figure out thousands of account usernames and passwords, and then turning those accounts over into their own control and selling them directly to end users. So it's just being ultra diligent. You know, with respect to these accounts, you can see children, you know, setting up these accounts on behalf of their parents and so on.
So,
and
Nate,
that
what can people do in creating their own username and password that will put them in a better position to not be hacked?
Well, it is the use of special characters, again, just going above and beyond what has been asked to be done by the service provider. In this case, Disney apparently has too low of a standard with respect to these, and thousands of users now suffering under this kind of breach. And, you know, all the information that they provided at the onset or the setup of these accounts have now been taken from them. So, you know,
so if it says like use one capital letter and one number, you're better off using two capital letters and two numbers, which makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the bare minimum, you know, in repeating the use of the same passwords for multiple accounts, you know, you could see how a single breach could lead to multiple breaches for an individual or for a family in this case. You know, the responsibility really comes down to the individual, but in this case, you have a platform, you know, a very exciting new platform with a lot of great content that drew users to it, and there is a responsibility that comes back to these large corporations in providing platforms that protect consumers. That protection not being provided, we have to be ultra diligent, you know, as users, and be focused on, you know, changing passwords regularly and using passwords that are not easy to guess or easy to reverse engineer.
Nate, it's good to talk with you again. Thanks for coming on. I understand you're joining us from Arizona. My sympathies. I do want to ask you, so Disney Plus is the latest streaming platform. It's all the rage now. It's what everyone's talking about. Over 10 million subscribers, I think, in the first 30 seconds that you could subscribe. But what do we know about what the other streaming platforms are doing with respect to user data? Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, CBS All Access. I'm sure there's a Liquid Lunch streaming platform that I'm forgetting about. What do we know about what these other streaming platforms are doing?
Yeah, so some of these platforms that have tenure on Disney have really created this really user information down to what we're watching, when we watch, how long we watch. So much data, and these online systems are quite more nimble in terms of their ability to collect more and more information. So I would say these are some of the leading data collectors in the market space today. YouTube and Prime and some of these other players that have, again, tenure on Disney. There's a reason Disney came to the market. These companies have access to a treasure trove of information about us as consumers. And, there's a trade-off, just as there is with social media, with these streaming platforms. As we engage with the platform, we are giving information about ourselves, about our families, about our viewing habits, and these habits are categorized and understood by the purveyors of these systems, and we need to be aware of that as consumers. I'd also point out with Disney that they had a tremendous asset in their content, and they found a way to monetize it. And companies need to look at the fact that the internet does connect them directly to consumers, and when we do provide that protection and that proper environment, we can monetize our content and monetize our capabilities to a large degree today. So it's a blessing and a curse. For consumers, though, we have to be ultra vigilant and understand that this data is being extracted on a daily basis from us.
Well, that's Nate Bradley, CEO of Data Vault. He's also the CTO of Data Donate Technologies, and he's always here to give our audience some tips of the trade. Sharpen up those passwords, use some more alphanumerics, use a $, use an asterisk, extra capital if you need, but you got to keep your passwords safe. Nate, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching Liquid Lunch at home. We ain't done yet, though. We got a lot more to cover. We're going to go back down to Washington and check in on the impeachment hearings, do some anchored coverage of that. And Frankie, I'm sure, will have already outlined a number of mistakes that I've made today, which we'll go over in segment 6, the WTF, What's the Facts? We'll take a quick break right now, and we'll come back at you with some live impeachment coverage right after this.